So good afternoon, a good day, good morning to all of you, and welcome to the University of Cape Town Pesticide Discussion Forum, which is funded by Sweden through the Swedish Chemical Agency. If you haven't introduced yourself already, please do so in the chat, where you'll see people are introducing themselves with their name, organization, and country. We also ask that you put a pin, and if you can, on the country where you are from. I seem to remember if you have a tablet, you need to do it with your finger, or you need to, there's some different thing that you need to do if you're having a bit of difficulty with that. So I'm Professor Andrea Rother. I'm head of the Environmental Health Division at the University of Cape Town. Assisting me today will be Tatum Lowe, who's doing the technical and administrative support. And as I said, please do continue to introduce yourselves. For those of you who are new or who perhaps have forgotten, the goal and the purpose of the University of Cape Town's Pesticide Discussion Forum, it's really to bring together representatives from different regions and sectors and stakeholder groups to discuss together and have a sort of mutually supporting consortium to engage with different issues related to pesticides, and really to build the capacity of regulators and researchers and NGOs in low and middle income countries, and to discuss emerging issues related to pesticide use. We hope to achieve this by learning from each other and sharing information and data, looking at identifying gaps and problem solving collectively, really for reducing and preventing pesticide poisonings and chronic effects and environmental contamination, and with a view to having the goal of a toxic-free future for the next generation. Just to remind you, this is not a webinar, but rather a chat discussion. So only the presenter and myself today will be actually speaking. The rest of you, we encourage you to keep your microphones muted and your videos off, and to use the chat for discussion. I will shortly be introducing the presenter for today, and he will take us through an introduction and then through 3 questions and some poll questions. We ask you to engage with each other, as well as to engage with the presenter and to ask various questions. So today's discussion, which we are honored to have our esteemed colleague from Tanzania, is looking specifically at pesticide management initiatives in Africa. We often talk about issues in a more broad sense, and today it's really will be good and engaging to have specific information coming from the experience that Godfried Wilgaard has had in Tanzania. So welcome, Godfrey. He works for the Hans Neumann Stiftung, which is a nonprofit organization, an NGO operating in Tanzania. He's involved in the designing, preparation, and training of small-scale coffee farmers on the safe use and handling of agrochemicals, specifically in Tanzania. He's been involved in agricultural extension for many years, especially working with small-scale farmers on creating awareness on the use of integrated pest management, health and environmental hazards of pesticides, biopesticides, and safe use of agrochemicals. He holds a degree of agriculture and rural innovation. Godfrey, thank you again for taking the time to lead this discussion today, and we look forward to hear what you have to say. So I hand the mic over to you. You're welcome to turn on your video, and thanks again.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for that introduction. And as you have introduced, today I will take you through the pesticide management initiatives in Tanzania. And to be specific, I will be focusing mainly in Tanzania as part of the introduction. I have a vast experience working with coffee farmers here in Tanzania. So the initiatives that I'm going to take you through will basically focus on the pesticide management, specifically in Tanzania and in coffee, to be precise. Next slide. Yeah, so to give you an introduction, the pesticide management here in Tanzania, globally, coffee and coffee insect pests are estimated to cause around a 13% loss for the production. And here in Africa, yield loss can be much greater, particularly where Arabica and Robusta coffee is growing for a long time. Here in Tanzania, we have quite a number of insect pests which are damaging coffee. To mention quite a few, we have coffee stem borers, we have coffee berry borers, we have Antestia bugs, we have leaf miners, and etc. And in general, we have around 13 different types of pests which are affecting coffee, but the one that I've mentioned, these are the mostly damaging insect pests that we have in coffee. And they are reported they have been reported to cause a great loss in terms of yield. So for decades, because of to prevent this pest, industrial chemicals have been used to control the prevailing pest in coffee. But also use of industrial chemicals have been reported to have negative implications for the environment, to animals, and to human health. And in recent years, worldwide efforts have been focused to researching on sustainable control measure for coffee insect pests. And for that, the Tanzania Coffee Research Institute, we call it in short TACRI, has been developing ecologically and environmental sustainable coffee insect pest control measures, which includes the use of biopesticides, traps, pesticides, adjuncts, and biological agents. So these technologies are progressively adapted by the coffee farmers in the country. And for my discussion today, I will try to take you through this biopesticide and also the different techniques which have been used by farmers. Next slide. So to take you through the biopesticides, actually we have a global biopesticide definition. And just to, for your understanding, we can say biopesticides, these are biological agents or plants-based products used to control the population of injurious organisms to the ecosystem. They are naturally occurring substance from the living organism. We say natural enemy, or their products, microbial products and photochemicals. And their byproducts we call the semiochemicals that can control pests by non-toxic mechanism. So actually, for this, the biochemicals, the biopesticides are many, and as for from the definitions, these are substances which can control pests in a natural way without causing any harm to the targeted crops, I will say. Next slide. So when we are talking about the biopesticides, they can actually be classified in different ways. And here for the discussion, I will just present 3 ways of defining the biopesticides. One, we have the microbial pesticides. These are the large group of pesticides. These are the large group of pest specific broad spectrum biopesticides. And microbial biopesticides includes the use of microbes such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa as active ingredients for the management of insect pests. And they are relatively precise for their target species. And microbial biopesticides are self-perpetuating, host-specific, and they are environmental friendly. These microbial pesticides are among the most widely used microbial organism against insect pests. We have the BF. So this is the BF is actually the abbreviation word for the protein which is used to control the insects. It's used to control a wide array of pests, including lepidodems, colodems, and diplerans. Then we have the second class of the biopesticides. We have the plant incorporated propellants. These are also called as genetically modified crop. Plant incorporated propellants are pseudo substance produced by plants and genetic material required to reduce substance, and are introduced into the plant to offer resistance against pests. So actually, this is when a different genetic is introduced to the pesticides to actually control the growing or the prevailing of the pesticide. So pseudo proteins separated from the bacteria or fungi are introduced into the plant, and the genetically modified plant resists against the specific pest. And this is actually how the pest is controlled using this method. And lastly, we have the biochemicals, pesticides. These are also known as heavy herbal pesticides. They are naturally occurring substance and secondary metabolites that control or inactivate pests. Mostly widely used biochemicals, pesticides. For example, we have the neem oil, which is extracted from the neem tree. And also we have the other plants like the Tephrosia plant. And also we have the other plants like the pyrethrum, which can also be used as a biopesticide. So for this, for the discussion, actually, I will go deep into the use of biochemicals, since these are the one which we like. We have more of the experience using them in controlling of pests in coffee. So actually, if you looked at some biopesticides such as Tephrosia, for those of you who knows it, it's a biopesticide which have been also used by fishermen to trap or to kill fish, but it's also very useful in coffee since it can kill some pests such as the Antestia bugs, but also the leaf miners. So it is very effective in killing pests in coffee. But we also have the biopesticides such as the neem tree oil, which can also be used to kill still the Antestia bugs, the leaf miners, but also if used in correct concentration, it can also kill things like the coffee berry borers. Yeah. Next slide.
Can we have the next slide, please?
Next. Yeah.
We seem to be having a technical issue. My apologies for that. Tatum, could we have the next slide, please?
Yeah, thank you. So looking at the way we explain the biopesticides, the following are some of the advantages of using biopesticides. Uh, One, they are usually inherently less toxic than conventional pesticides, since they are naturally occurring. um, uh, Normally they do exceed like or produce less toxic to the environment, but also less toxic to the people who are applying it. But also they produce little residue effects, and this is in terms to the crops where they applied. And in coffee, for instance, we have been advising farmers to use them because of this. So the pesticides can be applied at any time, and still coffee can be consumed, since it has little effects to the food itself. Generally, they have a low spectrum of activities. This is to say low direct impacts on targets, including human beings and wildlife. So like if you look at the neem tree extract, it actually don't have any, it's medicinal to humans. So it actually have no any, it pose no threat to humans. So it's only targeted the pests and not this other human being or the wildlife. Also, used often compatible with other control agents. So that means the biopesticides, they can be mixed with other types of pesticides without causing any problem. So if you have like some sort of fungicides, they can be mixed together and sprayed together. And we have an experience in coffee where they have really worked quite well without causing any problem. And this is different to this other type of pesticides where you can't really mix the pesticide while applying them. Yeah. So also another advantage is they may aid chemical pesticide performance when used together. So they enhance control. And this is just a continuation to what I was explaining. But also another advantage is their mode of action. The mode of action is not specific, so reducing the risk of developing resistance. So actually, when they applied to control pests, they don't have like a really specific mode of action to the pest. So it's like a surprising when they applied to the pest. They can't really resist to this biopesticide. And also lastly, they help to meet markets' demand and expectations for environmental friendly in agriculture and reduce chemical and pesticide residues. Since they are not toxic to the environment and to the people who are applying this biopesticide, they're actually really friendly. And for those who are growing organic coffee, they're actually using the biopesticides to control the pests. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. So for that, we will be jumping through our first question. And our question will be for you participants to explain how IPM is applied to agriculture practices in your country or the country that you are working in. So it will be just to explain with your experience how IPM is applied in the agriculture practices. How do you apply IPM?
Thanks, Godfrey, for that background. And you gave us a lot of information and details and examples. So I would like to encourage others, participants, if you do have questions from something that Godfrey raised, to also put them in the chat. Godfrey, you're welcome. If you want to keep your video on, you're welcome to, as well as your microphone open. If you want to speak to, you will see people posting already comments in the chat, and you are welcome to speak to those. We don't expect you to type. Thanks. So Godfrey, I'm not sure if you're seeing the question to you. There's a question from Frederick. He's from Kenya. He's asking you if it's possible to use biopesticides alone without using other forms of pest control.
Yeah, yes, I saw that question. Thanks very much for your question. Yes, I will say biopesticides can be used alone in control of pests, but they also come with some sort of limitation, I will say. If you are to use biopesticides alone, you'll need to use them in large quantities, and that's where the problems come in. So biopesticides can be used alone to control pests, and this will take time. But the only disadvantage is you'll need to really use large quantities of these biopesticides. But in addition to that, not only using of biopesticides, when you're controlling pests, you'll need also to use to observe these other good agriculture practices, such as maintaining the general health of the crop. And this is where now we'll be jumping into IPM to see how we can integrate the use of IPM and the use of biopesticides. Thank you. Yes, responding to these questions, our experience with farmers using and willingness to use biopesticides. First of all, most of the farmers that we are working with, they are not really aware of some of the biopesticides. Even though the biopesticides, some of them are available and existing within their localities, but some of the farmers are not really aware of the biopesticides. So in the beginning, we have farmers who are like hesitant in using some of these biopesticides, but after setting up demos and having like continuous trials, we have seen an improvement in terms of farmers using these biopesticides. And taking into consideration like now in Tanzania, the prices for inputs for pesticides and input in general, they have really gone high. So farmers are really now switching into use of these biopesticides since they are quite cheap and they are available in their localities. Yes, thanks for your question, Glory. I think biopesticides, as I've said, one of the big challenge to biopesticide, I think, is to get large quantity of it. So if you have access to large amount of biopesticides, yes, I can say biopesticides can be used to in large quantity. I will tell you, we have a coffee farm here in Tanzania, in a place called Moshi. It's around 75 acres of coffee, and the coffee farm is purely organic, and they are using only biopesticides to control pests. And once you observe all the IPMs and you use correctly the biopesticides, I will tell you, over the years, over the time, you'll find yourself even using less biopesticides control pests. So I will say, if you follow the correct IPM and the good agriculture practices, yes, the biopesticides can be used in large quantity. Yes, also we have experiences in using biopesticide. Some farmers will term the use of biopesticides to be expensive because to get the correct amount of, I would say, the mixture, it will take quite a number of the products to mix. So in large quantity, yes, it can be a bit expensive because you'll need to use quite a lot of material to produce these biopesticides. Like, yeah, I will say that it can be expensive to some farmers if you're not, if you don't have these materials in place. Yes, as I've said, biopesticides can be more expensive than some chemicals because of the accessibility, I will say. So to make biopesticides, you really need to have a lot of these products to make the biopesticides. But for the case of farmers that I'm working with, we have quite a number of neem trees where farmers can extract the neem tree oil, but also we have quite a number of tephrosia plants where farmers can easily use the tephrosia plants to make the biopesticides. But also, apart from that, we have some other biopesticides which work quite well in combating the pest in coffee. We have the pyrethrum, which is you can grow it in large scale and also extract the biopesticides. But also we have the Tagetes minutus, which for most farmers who are growing like maize, this Tagetes minutus can be grown as, it can just grow as a weed, but farmers normally harvest it and process it to be used as biopesticide. Yeah. So we have quite a number of pesticides which can be incorporated to eliminate all the pests in coffee, but also in other crops. Yes, I think apart from the cost, as Jane said, also I think awareness is also the case. Farmers are not really aware of the biopesticides, so it causes really a challenge to people from using the biopesticides. But also, I think most of the in most of the country, I think biopesticides are not recognized as a way of combating the pesticides. So I think also that's is also another thing of a concern.
Godfrey, Terry, do you want to make any comments on what you see posted on the poll on your screen in relation to the list of classes and types of biopesticides before we move on to the next poll?
Yeah. Yeah, just in a minute. Yeah, thanks very much for your response. I can see like the most of the participants are aware of type of the biopesticides that's available in their country. But to sum up this discussion, we have quite a number of biopesticides, and depending on the crops that you want to target in, you can just choose from the list. We have quite a number, and as I've mentioned, for me, I was just trying to give you an experience on the in coffee. So like as I've said earlier, in coffee we have like 5 different types of biopesticides which can be used, and they have been really producing good results in terms of reducing the numbers of pesticides. I mean, the number of pests in coffee. So depending on, as I've said, depending on the crops that you are targeting, different type of pesticides can be used, and also they can, as I've said, because as one of their advantage, they can be mixed all together to control the pests, and without causing any harm to the environment or to the people who are applying it.
Thank you for those comments. We'll now move on to poll 2, which is looking at what are the advantages of using biopesticides, and you can choose more than one. Apologies that the responses are difficult to read, but once you go into Mentimeter, if you click on it in the chat, you'll be able to read the responses a bit better. Godfrey, are biopesticides subsidized in Tanzania?
Yes. At the moment, the biopesticides are not subsidized, and I think also the recognition of biopesticides, which I think this will discuss more on the last question. But still, as a government, we have like very few biopesticides which are recognized with also uh, with the regulatory authorities that we have, like the TPHPA. We have quite a few which are recognized. So yeah. So they are not subsidized really, I will say. So at the moment, it's only farmers are just using their local knowledge. And as a project, we are really trying to like to train farmers on how to make these biopesticides.
If you still want to vote on the poll, what are the advantages of using biopesticides? The Mentimeter link is in the chat, and you can just click on that. Or if you already have been in Mentimeter, you can just go to next question. Godfrey, can you see the question from James?
I'm trying to.
So he said that in Sierra Leone, farmers do not believe in pest control, so they don't concentrate on it. And then he asked, what kind of model are you using, which you can recommend? I'm assuming the model he's talking about is an IPM model. Perhaps you can clarify, James?
Yes, I think as we have said, we have the IPM model which we have tailored design for our coffee farmers, which we integrate it with the use of biopesticides at the moment.
Do you want to make any comments on the poll responses, Godfrey, before we move on to the second question?
Yeah, thank you very much, participants, for your polls. I think we have majority of people talking about the less toxic, the biopesticides are less toxic to than the conventional pesticides. I think that is correct. Looking at what I've explained earlier, yeah, that's very correct. But also most people are were opting that the biopesticides are affecting only the targeted pests and closely related organisms in contrast to the convection pesticides. And I think these are the on the list. These are the top advantage of biopesticides, as I've discussed. But also, on top of that, maybe I can add, as I said earlier, the biopesticides, if applied correctly, they can be used in small quantities and act accordingly. So also that can also be another advantage of the biopesticides. So they are very effective just when you use small quantities. And lastly, I will say another advantage of the biopesticides, they can be integrated within the IPM program. And this makes them to be very useful and user-friendly to the people who are applying them, but also to the environment in general. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that. Those important points. So we will move on now to question 2. Over to you, Godfrey.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we have been talking about the IPM, but here I will also like to take you deep to our experience and our work in regard to the IPM. So to make an understanding to all of you, the IPM, we can define it as an ecosystem-based strategy that focus on long-term prevention of pests and their damage through a combination of techniques such as biological control, habitat manipulation, modification of cultural practices, and use of resistant varieties. And for this case, for the when I talked about the resistant variety, we have like in coffee, we have the resistance varieties which are produced by the one of our biggest research institution here, we call the Tanzania Coffee Research Institute. They're actually producing resistant varieties which are resistant to 2 major diseases in coffee, which is coffee leaf rust and coffee berry disease. Yeah, just to continue, the pesticides are used only after monitoring indicating they are needed according to established guidelines. So when you're using IPM, because of the previous explanation, you can only use pesticides when you see like the IPM program is not working. And the treatments are made with the goal of removing only the targeted organism. Pest control materials are selected and applied in a manner that minimizes risk to human health, beneficial and targeted organism and the environment. So when we are applying the integrated pest management, we only focus to the pests and not to other part of the plant. And this is beneficial to the people who are applying it and also to the environment. So we say IPM focus on long-term prevention of pests and their damage by managing the ecosystem. IPM monitoring and correct pest infestation help you decide whether management is needed. So actually for the IPM, we say we only apply practices which are recommended or which are they are useful at a certain time. So we at this juncture we don't jump into the use of chemical, rather than we start by doing practices which will eliminate the pests in the field, rather than using the pesticides. Next slide. Yeah. So for the case in coffee, we have quite a number of IPM that we are using. Like for the control of coffee stem borers, we use the animal fats. We smear animal fats just across the hole where we find there is a coffee stem borer entrance. And this is used to attract ants, where ants will go inside looking for the fats, for the animal fats, but in turn, they will also find the pests inside. So by doing this, it will help to eliminate the pest without using any pesticide. But also we have experience of using the sticky notes. Actually, these are they can be made of yellow yellow paints or yellow notes, where sticky substance is applied to it. And actually, we have been using this to control leaf miner and the thrips, and they have been working quite well in coffee. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So for the integrated pest management, we actually, when you're talking about it, we actually have this pyramid where we have all the parameters that we use for the integrated pest management. So to start with, we start with the cultural pest management. And here on the next slide, I will explain, but as a first step, which is environmental friendly and also it is healthy for the person who is applying it, we start with cultural control. And once you see the cultural control is not really working, you can go to the physical or the mechanical control of the pest. And this is where you physically, remove the pest or you kill the pest by hands, or if you use any physical means to kill the pest. And even up to this point, it's still environmental friendly and also it's healthy for the person who is applying it. Then if that's not working, we can go to the biological control of the pest. And here is where we use the predators or the pests, the parasites to control the pest. And here is where I also talked about the biopesticides, where they can be used to control the pest. And lastly, we have the chemicals. So once we see all these methods are not working, we go to the chemicals. But again, caution need to be taken because when using chemicals, it will only be targeting the specific pest and not like to spray pesticides to the whole plant. So looking at this pyramid, it shows the level of toxicity when you are going up. So from cultural control, here it's neutral, but if you are going up, that means when you're changing intervention is when you're going now to toxicity where you'll be using chemicals. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as I was explaining, just to give you a quick experience on how the IPM management program works, and to be specific in coffee. So we have the biological control, and as I've said, this is where when you are using the natural enemies such as predators and parasites, pathogens and competitors to control the insect damage. And like for the biological control, as I've said, in control of coffee stem borers, farmers usually smear cooking oil and animal fats on the stem of coffee to attract ants that eventually kills the stem borers larvae in the tunnel. And at times we use the ladybird beetles to control the Antestia bugs. So as a biological control measure, these are the things that have been used instead of using chemicals. These are the things which have been used in coffee to control pests. But also as a cultural control measure, these are practices to reduce the pest establishment, reproduction, dispersal, and survival. And for example, here you can do the changing in irrigation practices just to reduce the growth of the reproduction of the pests, but also practices such as proper pruning of the crop and also the proper hygiene of the crop can reduce the breeding area for the pesticide. And also in the chat, I also saw people talking about the rabbit urine. Here in coffee, actually, because of the availability, farmers have been advised to use the cow urine. We have a special way of making a concentration, 1 liter of urine to mix with 4 liters of water. Then you let it ferment, then use as a biopesticide. So this have also been used by farmers. Yeah. But also we have the mechanical and physical control of pests. This kill pests directly, block pests out, or make the environment unsuitable for it. Trap for rodents, for example, is one of the examples used as a mechanical way of killing pests. But also you can directly inspect your coffee field and also just kill the pests by hands instead of using the chemicals. And lastly, we have the chemical control. Here is where you use the use of pesticide. So in IPM, pesticides are used only when needed and not in combination with other approaches for more effective and long-term control. And pesticides are selected and applied in a way that minimize their possible harm to people and targeted organisms and the environment. So with IPM, you'll use the most selective pesticide that will do the job to be the fastest for other organisms and for air, soil, and the water quality. So actually, the IPM targets to use the control mechanism which will cause less challenges and effects to the people who are applying it and also to the environment. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as you can see, IPM is it has a lot of advantages, but again, from the charts, I saw people questioning the challenges which are associated with IPM, and there are quite a number of challenges. And to start, there are constraints of training and knowledge experience among the farmers and the extensionist agents in applying IPM. Actually, with the experience of farmers that we have in Tanzania, especially for coffee, farmers don't really know how to follow the pyramid in regard to how they can control the pests in their fields. And this resulted into continuously multiplication of the pests in their field. So this has been a challenge, and I think this is the challenge to most of the farmers because of the poor extension services within most countries in Africa. Also, there is supportive policy for alternative pest management in different countries, i.e. the willingness of government to support alternative pest management. Also, because of interactions of the people who are importing like chemicals, there have not been like supportive there have not been supportive policy from the government to encourage people to use to use the IPM and the alternative in general. So people here really want to do business and to make money. So they have been opting to use the pesticides where they can get money and not to encourage farmers to use IPM. But also the nature of IPM implementation require participatory approach and a change in extension system that lack in most of the countries. And like a case in Tanzania here, we also with the government extensionists, I can say not really all of them are aware of how to do the implementation of IPM. So this really challenged the people how to apply it. We as a project, we are not covering the whole of Tanzania, but at least where we are covering, we are really trying to introduce farmers to IPM. So, and IPM is a participatory approach where farmer really needs to engage with what is doing. So if that is lacking, actually IPM will not work really well. And also, lastly, IPM application require close follow-up, and that might limit its application on large-scale farming. Yeah, and as one asked before in the chat, with IPM again, it's really need close follow-up. And once you miss the step, you can really, you can cause the continuous multiplication of the pest of the pest in your farm. So for farmers who are growing, like they have large scale farms, really this can be a challenge because it needs resources for people to have a closer follow-up. Yeah, so this can be some of the challenges which are associated with IPM. But if one follow all the procedures, IPM can be a good rescue to human health and also to the good environment. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so based on the on my presentation, we have our second question. The question goes to, how does IPM differ from other methods of pest control? And if you can name the type of method it differs from, it will be good. So already we have discussed about IPM here. So based on the discussion on the presentation, you can explain how IPM differ from other methods of pest control, and name the types of method it differs from. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Godfrey. So I do encourage you all to respond. I see many of you have already, and there's a question from James for you, Godfrey. I think the discussion about the triangle was really important for the different stages of IPM. And I think your point that many farmers are not aware about it in Tanzania is very much the case in other countries as well. Time is moving on, so I do encourage you to continue to post your responses as well as on the polls. We will move through the polls quite quickly. Thank you. Over to you, Godfrey.
Thank you. Yes, I think for most of the farmers, as I explained earlier, farmers are mixing in terms of how to execute the IPM technique. So most farmers don't really follow the sequence of what need to be applied, and that's where the problem starts. You might find some farmers don't really trust IPM, so maybe they start with chemical management, then they switch to the use of, let's say, the physical, the mechanical control of pests. So once this is mixed, it can really cause injuries to the person who is applying it, because once you apply pesticide, we have a certain window, as you all know, before you enter into the field. So farmers can really injure themselves in terms of healthy wise, because you just apply, let's say, pesticide, then in a day or two you see pests, then you go and physically try to kill it and because of that you might end up getting into contact with with the pesticide. So this can be really challenging. So to really get the good out of IPM, the sequence, the pyramid that I've just shown, it is very important for one to use it. Yes, I will say, Martin, IPM can be used for perennial crop. Uh, it can work if it is used correctly. So right from the start, these things can be observed. And I think for the perennial crop, uh, IPM can be mixed. We should not separate IPM and the use of biopesticides. So they go hand in hand. So we can use the IPM, but also we can use the biopesticides in support of that. So I will say, yes, once you follow the good agriculture practices, also with in combination with IPM and the use of biopesticides, I think IPM, it can be used also in perennial crops.
I'm not sure if you've responded to James' question. Perhaps you have. Why would it be good for people to accept the IPM methods and move away from their traditional methods?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe to respond to James, I think as I've said earlier, one of the advantages of using IPM, you can really detect the pest from its early stages, and it's really cheap to use IPM once you have mastered the concept, but also it can be applied at it can be applied at any stage of the crop. So I think people should switch to IPM because of those advantages, but also it is really environmental friendly when you are using IPM, because you're not considering using pesticides unless if the pesticides are chronic, rather than you just use these other methods to control the pests.
So we have posted another poll for you to respond to, and we can go back to the other one, Godfrey, for you to comment on in a few minutes. Godfrey, did you want to say anything about this? You don't have to make any comments, but if you wanted to make any comments on this poll, and then we'll go back to the other one. People can continue to vote on them.
Yeah, I think talking on the experiences, it was good to have people's view. The experiences of using IPM is country specific. And as I've said, in Tanzania, because of now we have the pesticides and the inputs are really, the prices are really going high. So most farmers who have been exposed to trainings are now really focusing or changing their views in using IPM, since once you have the knowledge, this can be easily used to control pests. But also, as people have said, also here in Tanzania, it's only few government extensionists who are have the required knowledge to train farmers on the application of IPM. So knowledge-wise, in terms of how to apply IPM, is something which is still lacking. And because that is lacking, also farmers really don't know how to follow the pyramid in terms of, controlling the pests. Yeah. And I think it differs from different countries because of people's knowledge. Yeah. And also looking on the polls, I think the experiences from the country, it also links to the challenges of using IPM. As I've said, you can see also from the participants, most of the training and knowledge of farmers and the extensionist agents in applying IPM is quite a challenge. And this is a challenge, I think, to most of the countries, as I can see from the polls. But also, as I've said, the supportive and supportive policy within different countries. I think this is also one of the main challenge. And also here in Tanzania, to be specific in coffee, I think this is it's not very supportive in terms of if people can use the IPM. I will see there's a lot of encouragement for people to use the conventional pesticides, which are most of them are they can cause acute effects or the chronic effects. So the supportive policy is also a challenge in IPM. But also, I think because of the poor extension system that we have in terms of coverage for the farmers that we have in Tanzania, because of the nature of IPM, which needs a lot of follow-up, I think also it's causing a lot of problem. And I don't know to people from other countries, but here in Tanzania, it has been a problem since for IPM to work correctly, it needs a lot of follow-up. Yeah. Thank you. And that leads us to the third question. What is your perception or view of using biopesticides? And have you experienced challenges in obtaining biopesticides in your country? And how can these challenges be addressed? List your countries in response. So if you have been experiencing challenges in obtaining, the biopesticides in your country, be good to hear, but also how can these challenges be addressed from your countries? Thank you. So it will be good also to, since we have people from, I've seen from the participant, we have people from the Tanzania Plant Health and Pesticide Authority. Maybe we can also have more experience from their end in regard to this question, since they are the mandated authority in regulation of pesticide and biopesticide in Tanzania.
Godfrey, I don't know if you'd like to speak about the registration of biopesticides in Tanzania and what your experience has been.
Yes, the registration of biopesticides in Tanzania, as far as I know, we only have neem tree oil, which is widely recognized. And I think it has been researched by the Tanzania Plant Health and Pesticide Authority. And I think the registration of this is underway, but some of these products can be found, can be found in different agro shops. But still, the registration of biopesticides is really low, I will say. And we have had quite a number of discussions with the authority, and still they are still under research to see if the existing biopesticides can be registered. So I will say for the case of coffee farmers, we are just using the local knowledge and the outcomes that farmers are seeing in applying the biopesticides. So it's only few which have been registered, I would say. And I can see, like in most countries, biopesticides are not recognized in terms of their registration.
So we have 5 minutes left. We're going to be winding up the discussion soon. If you have any last questions for Godfrey, please do post them, or any comments that you would like to make. I really think there have been sort of 3 key points that have been coming out of the discussion. The one is the cost issue, which I think really is something that needs to be discussed. The lack of awareness amongst policy makers, consumers, and farmers, which is something that a lot more work could be done. There are many of you who are currently students at the University of Cape Town in pesticides risk management or chemicals risk management, learning how to write policy briefs. So that would be a good opportunity. And then the issue of registration and fast tracking registration. Those are some of the key points that I came up with. Godfrey, perhaps you would like to make some summary points of anything else that you have seen in the discussion or you would like to emphasize?
Yes, I think what you have just mentioned, like the cost issue, this is something that I have observed, but also as we implementers with coffee farmers, this is something that we have, farmers have been, talking of, cost issues, because the preparations for the material is quite an issue. In case you are using the biopesticides in large scales. But also, as you have said, the awareness issue, which also it has been raised by participants here. Most farmers are not really aware of the biopesticides, and others go beyond by saying they don't even believe if biopesticides do work. So it's really a challenge. It's something that we need to be taken into consideration. And also the issue of registration, yes, like as a country, as people have said, but also here in Tanzania, only I can recall only one biopesticide which has been registered. The rest, they are not registered. So this is something which needs to be done in order to make people use or aware of the biopesticides. And I think also what is also lacking here, and what's something that I've seen, is the availability of these biopesticides, because in some countries, I think the materials for making the biopesticides can be challenging, or the availability can be limited to most of the farmers. So also, since most of the biopesticides can be locally produced, this is something to look at a local level. But the 3 points, the cost, the awareness, and the registration, this can be on a higher level. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for those good points, Godfrey. And the discussion has been very rich and important. And I think many of you are highlighting some of the key issues. It would be good to know at some stage, what it's like in higher income countries and how they have overcome the challenges with biopesticides. I know we did have some colleagues on from Australia. I think we need to continue this work. And so this discussion was very important. Godfrey, you really took us through many key issues and gave us examples. It was good to look at the coffee, but as you said and other participants have said, is that IPM can be applied not only to other crops, but also in public health control, for example, with Quillia control, as we were discussing in the chat. So thank you very much, Godfrey, for your time and for the efforts of putting this discussion together. As I said, it was really very important, and thank you to all the participants for the various contributions that you have made, and I hope you will continue to raise these issues in the various forums that you're part of, and particularly regional bodies, I think is very important. If we have more regional efforts on IPM and biopesticides would be very good. I'd like to thank Tatum and Naomi from UCT, who were in the background making sure that this discussion ran effectively. If you are not a member of the discussion, please make sure you sign up. The link has been put in the chat. We will be putting together a digest that will be circulated, a summary of what was discussed today with resources. So if you have signed up, you will receive this. Also, we do have a pesticide bi-weekly newsletter that comes out, so we encourage you to sign up for that. And also the University of Cape Town is accepting applications at the moment for their 2 postgraduate program in pesticides and chemicals risk management, and we encourage you to apply for that. Our next discussion will be on the 14th of July. We will be having a discussion with the chair of the Southern African Pesticide Regulators Forum on regional risk management and pesticide regulations. So do put that in your diary and join us. And if you're a member, you will receive information. Alternatively, you can also join the WhatsApp group. The link was provided in the discussion guide to get more information as well. There is a poll on the screen if you'd like to respond to that. If you have any other topics that you're interested in, please do let us know. So thank you again to our presenter and to all of you participants. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.